Yo! What is up, Buffalo Fanatics? Z-Bot, Rico, and it's a Friday afternoon, one of the last Fridays of June. Summer is here, and I just looked today, Rico. We are 11 weeks away from the NFL season. We're far less than 100 days. July right around the corner. Training camp right around the corner. Kickoff right around the corner. And we're one more Friday in here towards the season, talking with you about Bills ball. Rico, talk to me. How you feeling today?
You make it sound so good. 11 weeks before football starts. It sounds like a short distance away, but it's quite a bit. But you know what? These things creep up on us so fast.
They do.
All of a sudden, we're talking about, holy crow, is kickoff already? I ain't ready. But you know what?
Here's how I know, right? Because we just hit the 100-day mark till my wedding. Ooh. And my wedding is like 3 weeks after the start of the season. So I keep getting reminded of when the wedding is. Then I subtract the days because, as you just said, it seems to go faster and faster. And when you got a wedding coming around the corner, I mean, nothing seems to be coming closer to the rearview mirror than that, because it's like the biggest event in your life. And at one moment, it felt like it was forever away. Now it's like 95 days away. And I always have told Caroline, this is the way I think in general, besides the wedding. I've always thought in chunks based usually on football. Like, it's weird how I think, but it's in chunks. It goes from X amount of time till the season starts.
Yep.
And you got this section of the season, this section of the season, the playoffs, the Super Bowl, and then it goes into the next section of off season, whatever. You got the free agency period, you got the draft, this and that. So when you're as psycho as we are, that's how you think. You think in batches of football as far as time is concerned.
Well, I mean, listen, this is the tough part of the offseason for Bills fans, NFL fans, because there's almost 4 weeks of no football, 4 to 6 weeks of no football. There's going to be chatter here and there, but for the most part, it's players taking it easy. What we want are for Bills players to take it easy. We don't want a Nyheim Hines situation to arise, and all of a sudden we're down a man, right? We want everybody to have a good time, relax, take care of your body so we can get back into football. And but in between, there's going to be a lot of chatter. The one topic that I do want to hit, by the way, 100 days is going to come back. It's going to go by real fast. So buckle up.
Breaking it down.
The season's coming. It's going to come real quick.
Well, that's in this part of the year too. I mean, I'm sure with the kids as well, with them being off, your time flies, because it's this time of the year where you have more on your schedule, I think, than ever. You have like a family getaway here, a weekend thing here. And I was just looking at my schedule, and I got something this week and then that weekend. And when you look at like the time in which, you get to that one milestone, because you're working all week, right? All right, when's the next event or whatever?
Absolutely,
so you're looking at the summer, right?
Natural.
Yes. And usually the summer is the most eventful season of the year in terms of plans and going and doing stuff. So I was just looking at, kind of what we have on the itinerary, and, like once this thing comes, then the next thing, it's going to fly. It's going to absolutely fly by. So hopefully McDavid and the boys can pull it off tonight. We get a little bit longer on the ice before it's strictly just baseball. And then hopefully that period just zooms by and we're in the season.
Brother, I'm not a hockey guy, but golly, that McDavid cat.
Oh my God.
That McDavid cat kid, that boy's, he's nasty. He is an absolute nasty. And if these Oilers can pull it off, if these Oilers can come down from 0-3 and pull this off, biggest choke job goes to the Panthers. But we will soon see. We gotta get to this game. It's a home game in Edmonton. We gotta see what's going on with those boys. But news around the NFL. Let's talk about some news around the NFL, brother. Ramondre Stevenson. Who says running backs don't get paid? Ramondre Stevenson strikes a new deal with the Patriots. The new regime. There was something that came out from Bill Belichick. In Bill Belichick's tenure, I was listening to satellite radio. They said that in his tenure, he's never franchised a player. Never felt the need to franchise a player. It's because you're going to set us behind. You're going to make us have to, shuffle some things around, and we're going to lose on that back end. So he never franchised a player ever. I found that very fascinating because, Belichick is one of the GOATs of the game, right? So quite interesting, but new regime, new, fresh, outlook on the Patriots. And the Patriots signed Ramondre Stevenson to a 4-year extension. He gets $17 million guaranteed, $36 million altogether. So big time money. I think he's like I think the 4th highest paid running back right now, something stupid like that. But kudos to Stevenson. He's a good back. He's given us issues here and there, but nothing that the Bills can't handle. But you can start to see some things are changing in New England. How do you feel about that Ramondre Stevenson extension signing? Good move for the Patriots?
Well, it seems necessary just because I'm thinking of it right now. And my God, Rico, it's insane to say, especially what the state of the Patriots were not all that long ago. But you will be hard pressed right now to tell me 5 guys on this Patriots roster. I mean, that's just where it's at right now. Ramondre Stevenson being one of them. And you know damn well, with the quarterback situation being what it currently is, and obviously they're hoping Drake May is the next Brady or at least a shadow of that, and they're going to be able to get this franchise off the ground.
Right.
Because they have been underneath earth since Brady has left. They're going to be a run-heavy team, I would imagine, for the foreseeable future until that quarterback rears its head and allows that team to be able to progress through him. So it makes a lot of sense. The Patriots, as it stands right now, you imagine to be a defensive-oriented team that's going to run the ball and allow Drake May to eventually get himself comfortable with this team and move forward. So it does make sense. And this offseason, Rico, was a resurgence for the running back position. They had not gotten their fair share of the dough over the last handful of years. This offseason being a fresh outlier for the running back position. A ton of big names got paid, and obviously the Ramondre Stevenson being the newest piece to that. I wonder if that's going to be a recurring theme or if that's something that's going to be a one-off this offseason. Maybe it was because there were so many big names that got moved and got re-signed or signed to new teams that's why it feels the way it does right now. But it had felt like it was year after year recently where you didn't see a guy get a big deal. And I could, go back to right when free agency started this offseason, and it felt like the majority of the big names did get a big deal. So it's interesting because the more we continue to talk about the role that running backs play within the team being diminished, the more I think you see a lot of these teams starting to value. I mean, for the best example, of course, being the San Francisco 49ers. There's some of these teams, not all, and I think that's why the running back position has become what it has, because if you don't have McCaffrey or Barkley or whatever, then it's not worth it. And that's where the carousel has really started to show itself, and it spins round and round. You go from one running back to the next. But I think you are seeing, if you can find that running back, and we're hoping that James Cook can be that for the Bills, it's worth keeping him around because it just adds that much more to your offense. And like I said, the best example, of course, would be the Niners. They're just not I don't think they're a fraction of what they are today if it's not for CMC. And if you're thinking about the Patriots on a lesser scale, I don't know what they are without a dynamic running back right now going into the season with as young of a team and inexperienced a team as they currently have, plus a brand new head coach who's never been a coach before. A lot of new in New England. It's nice for them to have a surefire back to rely on going into the future here.
It's a straight up rebuild. And you want to rebuild with pieces that you trust. At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. And they trust Ramondre Stevenson, 600 yards last year, 69 catches for 400 yards. So he's a solid back, and they'll allow Drake May to chill out and let Jacoby Brissett come in and run things. They feel very comfortable with Jacoby running things in New England. So it's going to be fun to watch New England because it's a franchise that's been winning for quite some time. They had their moment, and now it's their rebuild moment. So, like, do they bounce back, or are they going to be in the dungeon, in the basement for a long time? Here's a funny stat for you. Where do you think the Jets? Funny stat. I read this and I was like, this is incredible. Where do you think the Jets rate? Where do they rank in AFC Championship division titles?
It's the best stat on the planet.
So you did hear it.
Hear it. I find myself bringing this up on a monthly basis. But they're numero 5, which is one of the funniest stats in existence. It is like if I had one stat to utter on my deathbed, my last statement, it would be that stat. It's my favorite stat in existence, Rico. It's the best.
I'm sitting here, I mean, thinking about the Bills, and I'm listening to Sirius Satellite Radio, and they're talking about the AFC and how it's going to be it's a mumble jumble division. And they said, hey, where do you think the Jets rank in the AFC in terms of how many titles they title divisions they have? And brother said 5. I said they're 5th. What do you mean? The Colts, when the Colts were in the AFC East, they won more division champs than the damn Jets. My goodness, have the Jets. I mean, they need a bounce back year. This is the year they need to bounce back. But we'll get into all that in just a moment. So big shout out to Ramondre Stevenson striking himself a deal. I think that's pretty cool. And the Patriots, we'll see how they bounce back. But the one topic, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I wanted to, because we're on the topic of money, I thought it would be a good time to bring this up. I don't know if you have been keeping tabs, because we had this discussion last week, and I think that's why it's so fitting. We were talking about how insane it is that Trevor Lawrence, and as we know, he's a guy that you're going to pay because of the upside, what he was supposed to be, what he still could potentially be. You're right off that first year with Urban Meyer. They're still trying to get things going in the right direction in Jacksonville. Not that they haven't, but in that next direction where the Bills are, the Chiefs are, the Ravens, the Bengals, whatever.
Yep.
And you're not going to move off of Trevor Lawrence. And if you did, there certainly would have been a variety of teams who would have stepped up to the plate and paid the same amount of money. But at the end of the day, it was still $55 million for a quarterback who has one playoff win in a fashion that was unlike anything we've ever seen from the meltdown of Brandon Staley. And that is all he has to show for his career so far. And we know that next in line is going to be Tua Tagovailoa, who does not even have that in his resume. The next in line is potentially going to be Dak Prescott, who we know, at least in my opinion, is right there with Tua as far as big game comes around, and you just don't rely on him. Yet I'm supposed to pay $60 million to this guy. This is what it's become. It's the next man up, gets the next amount of money that would equate to the highest paid contract in NFL history. Well, it's now starting to circulate, Rico, and I don't know if you've heard this, but some NFL owners are talking about the potential of a separate salary cap for the quarterback. And I think it's very fitting that the conversation we had last week transcends into this all of a sudden becoming not just a talking point, but something that I think is going to be legitimately debated amongst owners and could potentially be implemented sooner than we think because of the lunacy that the quarterback market has become. And the lunacy, you look no further than the idea of Tua Tagovailoa approaching a $60 million contract. So that in itself is wild. I'm listening earlier. However, we had talked about not only this, but we also discussed in relation to that, the top 10 paid quarterbacks in the NFL. And we know Josh Allen was on a cusp of that, right? Like barely eking in with the likes of Trevor Lawrence, with the likes of Kirk Cousins, with the likes of guys that anybody in the league would take Josh Allen over.
Right.
I'm listening to Mike Florio earlier. They're on hiatus, Pro Football Talk, but he's doing like a 45-minute bit every day just talking about what's in the news, this being a topic. And he was asked if and when, and I think it's inevitable at this point, we're at 55 million now, 60 million is inevitably going to be around the corner. He was asked, of course,
absolutely,
when there becomes a $60 million quarterback, who do you think it's going to be? What do you think his answer was?
Buddy, I couldn't even tell you. What did he say?
17.
Who?
17.
Oh.
And it goes back to what we were discussing last week. There's going to come a time where Josh Allen, who's currently making $45 million a year, is going to look when inevitably Tua signs a contract here. I guarantee you it's going to happen at some point. I don't know how it could. What else are they going to do? So that happens, right? You have, obviously, Trevor Lawrence signing his as of recent here. Dak Prescott around the corner, and it's all going to keep going. Kirk Cousins, obviously, way up there.
Yep.
It's got to come a point where, as we refer to all the time, when you sit down with the agent, and how easy is it to say, you're really going to tell me that these guys deserve to be making more than my guy? I mean, it just sells itself. Florio basically said it is criminal the amount of money Josh Allen is making. And there's going to come a point where the chickens are going to come home to roost. And he literally apologized to Bills fans and to the front office of the Bills in saying this, because he feels not only Josh Allen is more than deserving, but he feels the way things are going, that this is where it could wind up going for Josh Allen. Now, this is the beauty and the curse, I guess, of this, Rico, and I want your thoughts on this.
Talk to me.
The beauty is you have a guy worthy of the $60 million. When we look at these other guys who are making $55 million, approaching the $60 million number, I feel like the juice just is not worth that squeeze. Josh Allen, of course, is worth the squeeze and then some. You pay that guy whatever you want, whatever you can. But this is where, when we're talking about this salary cap situation being implemented for the quarterbacks alone, almost like the NBA does, where they have certain guys who are able to make more against the cap just based on the superstar. I don't know the exact terminology behind it, but there's a way that the NBA is able to circumvent the salary cap by paying their top players more than others in order to keep them on the roster.
Yep.
This is where the Bills would drastically benefit from something like this, and where I think that the NFL might need to really take a serious look into this, because Josh Allen is more than deserving of that $60 million. But we've been kicking, when I say we, I mean Brandon Beane, kicking that contract of his down the road year after year. And luckily for us, Josh Allen willing to be a part of that for the betterment of the team. But eventually that can only go so far, and he's going to have to get mega bucks. We're going to talk about it throughout this show here, Rico.
For sure.
The Bills right now have about half their roster from last year gone. Half this roster is brand new, and Josh Allen's contract ain't kicking yet, Rico. It ain't in there yet. $60 million around the corner. Imagine what this roster is looking like. So talk to me when you hear about that potential. Where do you kind of go with your mindset? And when you think about the separation of the salary cap from the quarterback position and the rest of the league, do you think it's doable? And is it something that you'd want to see implemented into the league?
I'll tell you, man, you're not far off. I mean, when I say you're not far off, you're bang on. It's going to happen where Josh or whoever is going to hit that. But there comes a time where you're like, enough is enough. This is getting out of, this is getting ludicrous. This is lunacy. Like you said, it's crazy. It's ludicrous to have an individual, because you hear this and you hear this in chats all day. There are people that deserve way more money than these NFL athletes that are getting 60 million. What about the police officers that are out there? What about the surgeons that are out there? They deserve, you know what I'm talking about. There are those folks that
listen, my fiance is a NICU nurse. I've never seen her hurdle a linebacker in real time. Okay. I'm sorry. I haven't seen it. When I see that, we can start talking.
But in all seriousness, I mean, you have to ask the question, when will it stop?
Yeah.
There's going to be a point where somebody's making 75 mil a year to throw the football around. It comes a time where you're like, okay, let's put a cap in it. Now, allegedly, there are owners that are mumbling about it, and there are owners that are like, stop messing with this stuff. This is, leave it the way it is. It's the market. There's a whole lot of things that play a factor into. But realistically speaking, man, there's got to be, what they're trying to do is they got to separate the quarterback from everybody else. And that's what they're allegedly talking about, separating the quarterback from everybody else and having them in their own category, because the amount of money these boys are going to start getting paid in the next 10 years is going to be ridiculous. And are they going to be worth it? Like, will Josh be worth, when it's time for him to get paid? I mean, I think he's going to be surpassing 60 mil if that's the case. If Tua is on the verge of potentially getting 60, and whether that happens or not, who knows? But when you're looking at these average contracts, right? So I'm looking at right now, as of right now, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence leading the way. Okay. Then it's Jared Goff at 53. Justin Herbert at 52. Lamar Jackson at 52. Jalen Hurts at 51. All right. You guys already know the list. Josh Allen at 43. All right. Daniel Jones, for crying out loud, is at 40. So clearly, Josh is going to get paid whenever it's time for him to jump into that category. But where does it stop? You gotta cap it somewhere until it's just going to get ridiculous. But NFL keeps making juggernaut type money. These players are looking at the contracts and saying, listen, owners are just making, what do they say, hand over fist of money? You're going to pay me. So there's going to be guys that deserve this, that are going to get this paid. But like, the real question is like, where will it stop? At 55 mil, and you're getting Trevor Lawrence at 55 mil, and Josh Allen is, in my opinion, a much better quarterback at 43. We said it before, man. Brandon Beane got an absolute steal, an absolute steal when he signed Josh as quickly as he signed Josh. And now we're talking about potentially in the next couple of years. Hopefully, there's a Super Bowl in hand in the next couple of years. But man, oh man, these boys are gonna get paid. And there's a lot of guys that are up. Like you said, Tua's up. I'm trying to think of the next quarterbacks that are gonna be up.
Dak,
to get paid.
Tua.
Dak's gonna be up shortly. Even Matthew Stafford was talking about, hey man,
yes, yep, he's another one.
I'm looking at getting a little bit more money, fellas. You got to talk to me now at age 33. So these brothers getting paid. They're going to get paid.
And Rico, the problem is not them getting paid. The problem is them getting paid in relation to what everybody else is getting paid and how that winds up translating into the team you put out on the field. That's why I think the idea of this is interesting. But the struggle I have with it is it's going to set a precedent that could be hard. Once you let Pandora out of the box, it's going to be tough to put it back in. You're going to then have the defensive ends clamoring for their own salary cap.
Absolutely.
Then you're going to have the wide receivers, right? Because we've watched this trickle down. Started at the quarterback position. Then it went to the wide receiver and the defensive end position, where it was next man up, most money, and it's getting astronomical, year in and year out as the salary cap goes up, as the revenue goes up, and it's all linear. I don't think this would be happening if the NFL didn't sign the multi-billion-dollar broadcasting right deals that they have over the last couple of years, and the salary cap has gone up more than anybody would have expected. But, even with it all being linear and it all kind of evening out, you're still talking about a quarter of your salary cap going to one player. And now you're watching these teams who have these great quarterbacks be put in a tremendously tough spot, more so than they ever have. It's always been tough to pay a quarterback and succeed. It's why it's, everybody talks about getting that guy and winning it within that 5-year window because that's the best time to do it. But it's almost getting to the point now where it's going beyond that, where it's going beyond that difficulty and entering into a whole new realm where you're wondering if it's even going to be sustainable. And I like the idea behind it, but I just don't know if it's feasible. I think the idea itself sounds like a good plan, sounds like it could work out, but it, to me, feels like it's just a little too convenient. Something would have to come from it that would be a real detriment to the rest of the NFL and how they get paid.
I'll tell you, I'm thinking about it. I'm looking at all these. I'm thinking about all the other sports that are being played right now. Soccer players get paid big time money, big time money, and nobody bats an eye, right? You look at these baseball players getting 300 mil, 400. Like it's absolutely insane. These baseball
have
players,
no salary cap. They're like the Dodgers and the Yankees. They can spend whatever they want.
So that's why it doesn't sound as crazy because when you're looking at these other sports that are getting boku money, you got players like the NFL players that are saying, you know what? I look at all these other athletes getting paid. Listen, this is just the way of the business. This is just business at the end of the day. And I want to get mine. I mean, Justin Jefferson's the leading contract getter, $35 million a year. AJ Brown right after him at $32 million. My gosh, I never thought I'd hear AJ Brown making $32 million a year, and he's a baller. Don't get me wrong. Amon-Ra St. Brown just got himself paid $30 million a year. Tyreek Hill, those are the guys in the 30 family right now. And you got Brandon Ayuk that's trying to get paid, and he's trying to get something in the 30 mil. It's just not going to stop, man. These guys are going to keep getting paid, and there's going to come a time where everybody's going to be whispering on the sidelines. There's going to be a lot of corruption going on at a point where they're all going to sit down and be like, yo, we got to make something happen. That will be sometime later because it's not as crazy, but it's going to get to a point where, okay, enough is enough. We're going to cap it, but I don't see anything happening anytime soon. These boys are going to get paid. And if you want to win, you got to pay me. That's just what it is. You want to win, you got to pay me. And these boys, it's not going to stop. So big shout out to the next quarterback that gets paid, though. Is it going to be Tua at 60 mil? Is it going to be Dak? Dak getting paid 60 mil? Could you imagine?
I could. I really could.
Oh, that's going to be something. But yeah, man, these guys, listen, will they cap the QB market at one point or another? I'm sure these conversations are happening now. How deep these conversations are, one will never know until you start seeing things start to really drastically happen. And it all started because of Deshaun Watson. They gave that brother a guaranteed contract, and he opened up you talk about Pandora's box being open. The Browns opened it up by giving that big ass contract, guaranteed contract, $235 million to Deshaun Watson, which is absolutely crazy for what he's given them thus far.
That was a huge catalyst. And we remember how difficult it was for the Ravens to re-sign Lamar Jackson because he was right after. Now, luckily, all 31 other owners outside of Cleveland realized they hated Cleveland for doing that because it was almost an unwritten rule that you just don't give a guaranteed. And Cleveland's paying the price now. And that's why even though you technically can do it and Cleveland did, you're not going to see anybody do it anytime soon, I don't think, because look at what's going on in Cleveland. You don't think if they had a magic wand and could go back in time and redo it, they wouldn't do it in 2 seconds? Of course they would. So no matter how good of a situation you think you have, we see this in the NBA all the time. It just happened with Monty Williams and the Detroit Pistons. I don't know if you saw, but they fired Monty Williams after 1 year with the Detroit Pistons. They're going to pay him $65 million guaranteed over 5 years. So it happens in all these sports, even at the coaching position. The guaranteed money. If you have something in place that winds up being exactly what you paid for at the time and it lasts over that longevity, hey, good for you. But man, that is an awfully risky roll of the dice every time you do it. And of course, it's pro player. And I totally understand the player wanting that. But you also have to understand the ownership and why they would not want to go down that avenue, because you see time and time again, all of a sudden 1 year goes by from the next. You go back to Carson Wentz, is a great example. Carson Wentz on pace to win the MVP. The Eagles win the Super Bowl that year. And Carson Wentz has basically been, non-existent ever since then, all around the league. Imagine a scenario like that where he doesn't get hurt. They pay him a super max or whatever. This stuff happens all the time.
It certainly does.
Pan out. So very interesting, Rico, but we are currently in a time where we are watching so much evolve so quickly. We're watching the season expand. We're watching the league expand well beyond the borders of of North America. We're watching it blow up all over the world and them going from country to country. We're watching the money explode like crazy. It's a wild time right now in the National Football League.
It absolutely is. Let's kind of transition a little bit, because we're talking about owners having conversations. We're talking about the league having conversations, and we had this very conversation maybe a couple weeks ago, maybe a few weeks ago. We were talking about awards being given. We've talked about it all year as well. Awards being given to certain players. You got the MVP. You've got, defensive rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year, all those things. But there's one in particular award that gets given out that now people are talking about it.
And how about this, Rico?
How about this comeback player of the year guideline change? There's a change happening. And let's dive into this a little bit, because we talked about this, and everybody was talking about how this thing is rigged if Damar Hamlin doesn't take this comeback player of the year award. And then the real question becomes, well, what is a comeback player of the year? What are you coming back from?
Yep.
And I felt that if you are worthy of the award for comeback player of the year is because obviously you had to go through some kind of adversity, and you came back and played well enough for people to say, all right, he's deserving of this. And the last person that won it was, I could say Geno Smith was one that won it. And some people were talking about, he was relegated. He was sent pretty much to die. And he's like, you know what? They sent me off to die, but I didn't write back or something like that. Yeah. He came back and won the whole thing, right? So what say you about these changes? Now, before I get your opinion on these changes, here's what they're trying to figure out. So the new language, the spirit of the AP Comeback Player of the Year award is to honor a player who has demonstrated resilience in the face of adversity by overcoming illness, physical injury, or other circumstances that led to him to miss playing time the previous season. All right. So we've seen countless of situations happen where somebody gets hurt, something happens, and they don't play the year before, the year previous, because of the injury or whatever the situation is. They come back the year after and they do well and earn the right to have that award. So now, because people have been talking about it, I'm sure that's the situation here. People have been talking about it. They want to make some changes here, right? For example, they said Russell Wilson has played 17 games in 2023. He wouldn't be eligible if he suddenly plays like Mr. Unlimited, right? That's one of the things that they're talking about. So if Russell, because a lot of people put money on Russell Wilson getting comeback player of the year. Last year, going from playing mediocre to being benched and just relegated to just cast off to just die. Pittsburgh Steelers picks him up on a cheap contract. This is the comeback player of the year. He's going to kill it no matter what. Now they're trying to change things up. Now it's about injuries. It's about you didn't get a chance to play. It's not about being benched. So what say you about this comeback player of the year award? We were talking about it being separated. You should separate. There should be a separate award for those that do get injured or something crazy like what happened to Damar Hamlin happened. Have that separate. What say you on these guideline changes and what they want to try to do here?
Well, I think they saw what just unfolded and they finally had the straw needed to break the camel's back, because for so long, up until this point, it made no sense as to what that award actually meant, because you have Damar Hamlin, the surefire winner of that award last year, lose it to Joe Flacco, who comes off the couch and starts throwing it like he's Brett Favre again. But a handful of years ago, you have Alex Smith win the award for a very similar situation. Well, I shouldn't say very similar, but a similar situation to Damar Hamlin in the fact that he was incredibly injured, comes back and plays. Nobody ever thought he'd play again. He does. He wins the award. So you were having these precedents set in different ways where you could win the award by coming back from an injury, or you could win the award by just coming off the couch and playing well.
Right.
There was no direct definition.
Correct.
They're halfway there, Rico. What there needs to be now, there needs to be a most improved player, and there needs to be a comeback player. The comeback player, you might as well just name the Damar Hamlin comeback player of the year, because Absolutely. This is why this award is being changed.
For sure.
If the Damar Hamlin situation does not occur and last year unfolds the exact same way it does and Joe Flacco wins the award, no one bats an eye, no one questions it, no one cares. The way that it went down made everybody realize that there is absolutely no rhyme or reason to what this award actually signifies, what it means, and what it represents. So you have that unfold. Everyone discusses it. Everybody now realizes, wait, if Damar Hamlin can't win this, dying on the field, coming back and playing, then what the hell constitutes winning this? So they're halfway there. They're now defining the comeback player of the year. And they need to introduce a most improved. So a most improved, Rico, in this situation last year, Joe Flacco would get the most improved, I guess, right? Because you go from being a guy who everybody thought was on his way out the door, retiring, to improving himself into, towards the end of the year, an elite-ass QB for the Browns who led him to the Super Bowl, or led him to the playoffs. And then you would have the comeback player of the year being Damar Hamlin. And that way, I think you get an adequate winner for two different awards that represent two different things, instead of somehow mosh pitting these two things together. And then when you watch the results unfold, you sit there and say, well, this just doesn't make any sense at all. There should be two awards, one for a player who comes back off of an injury, one for a player who improves dramatically, whether that be, like you said, Russell Wilson getting casted away from Denver, say he comes out to Pittsburgh this year and balls, great, he wins it. And then, for comeback player, Joe Burrow, just an example, goes down last year, comes out this year, wins MVP, comeback player of the year from coming off of an injury. Just an example. So that to me, because I think in all transparency, I'd like to see both. You'd love to see a guy get rewarded from coming off of a major setback. You'd also love to see a guy get rewarded for proving himself when others doubted him. I think it's a perfect opportunity for the NFL to introduce a new award that would be able to represent both of these situations within the same year.
I like it, and it almost feels like they're setting it up for who. And if you look about who was injured last year and was supposed to have a massive year, and this is the comeback year, and they're trying to set it up for Aaron Rodgers. They're trying to set it up for Aaron Rodgers. He's gonna come back. He's gonna get the Jets in contention. Maybe they make the playoffs and outdo the Bills, or they outdo the Miami Dolphins. And then automatically they're giving it to him. But you also have someone like Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb could come back and have a monster year. He can where Kirk Cousins goes to a new team, right?
You think about the possibility. There's a ton. That's why it makes so much sense.
Absolutely. Listen, Anthony Richardson bum shoulder rookie year, comes back, and they're trying to, remold him to stop taking those big hits. So this makes absolute sense to really put some lines in the sand to say this is what constitutes as a comeback player of the year based on XYZ, and this is for your most improved. What did you improve from? Being benched and being whacked. Or you mean you got outdone by another player and you got yourself an opportunity to play again, and here you are. Whatever the case is, right? You found yourself in the doghouse from the coach, and then you find yourself back on the field. I mean, listen, the person that could really win this comeback play of the year or most improved would be former Jets quarterback going to the Broncos in Wilson. Excuse me, I'm saying Zach. What's my man's name? Keep forgetting the former Jets quarterback that just went over to
Zach Wilson. Yeah, it's a
Zach Wilson. That's right. Zach Wilson.
Yeah,
he could be a shoo-in for most of them, right? So this will be fun. This will be fun to see. I mean, listen, you can even throw Matt Milano in there.
And, another example, like last year, like if Flacco doesn't happen, like Baker Mayfield would have been the perfect winner for that type of situation. Like, sure. Exactly in that situation.
That'd be perfect. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see that they've now said, okay, listen, the guy DeMar Hamlin should have won. We all know that, right? Everybody's talking about it, but you gotta play. You gotta do something on the field for us to say, okay, this is what constitutes. So now there's gonna be some differences in here. So I like this. I like that they're listening to the murmurs, I guess, and they're listening to the people talking about things and the fans and all that stuff. So
it just makes too much sense, Rico. Like last year, it didn't look good on anybody. Joe Flacco couldn't have felt great going up there, right? Knowing that everybody thought it was going to be Ham. When the NFL couldn't have felt great about it, knowing everybody was going to be like, what the hell is this? Right. DeMar Hamlin, we had this conversation right after it happened. Like the fact DeMar Hamlin's in that building, it essentially feels like it was going to be, a moment to honor him for coming back from that and whatever. And it wasn't. Like, I think the NFL realized, there's no harm in separating one from the other and creating another award. Now, I know we keep talking about this as if it's a certainty. That new award hasn't been implemented yet. The way that they're talking about this, it's going to be strictly based on an injury, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or something of that nature. So the way I see it
will have a lot to do with it. Being injured, coming back from something catastrophic, it's going to have a lot to do with that. Just merely being benched for whatever reason, or you just, you didn't play the last year, you took a year out, who knows? But there's got to be distinction, and I'm sure within the year, maybe, you never know, or by next year they'll implement it, they'll make it very clear that this is going to happen. But right now, these are the new guidelines being discussed, and I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it, and I think deserving winners will get their just due. But I do love this most improved aspect as well. I like that category for itself. And your comeback player of the year, obviously you're coming back from something. You're coming back from something that caused you not to be able to play. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the league does and how they decide to go and implement that. But I'm having a lot of fun now of going back in our conversations. Like, we were talking about this, man. We were on it. So it's really good to see that being talked about right now. So I know that we had some topics that we want to hit on. I have one that I really want to touch on, and it happens a lot. You see it a lot in the NFL. You see it a lot in the NBA, more specifically the NBA. And the question I have I guess I got to put that out for you, is the individual competitive edge leaving sports. And I bring this up because AJ Brown had a question for, I guess, his fellow receivers, and I guess he was just he just put it out there. He put it out there in the universe, and he wanted to have conversation, and the conversation was merely, guys, can we get like a receiver summit, if you will, to just get together and just work on our skills and be together, and we can, sharpen each other's, sharpen each other up.
And university there, similar to that, like tight end university there.
Like he said, he even mentions tight end university. Why can't we do that? Why can't we do like the defensive ends? The defensive ends get together and they start doing things. And it reminded me of the NBA, because a lot of NBA guys will work together in the summertime, and some of the guys, they don't do that. Like Giannis and Antetokounmpo. I can never say that brother's name, man.
Antetokounmpo,
right? He's like, I ain't about that.
Yeah.
I work the offseason so I can, you know what I mean? And I'm paraphrasing you, so I can murder these cats. I'm not trying to work out with them.
Yeah.
Like the competitive edge just leaves. Now, NBA is far different than the NFL because I mean the receivers they're all play the same position, they're all different teams and so on and so forth. But like for me, I want to be able to work out, do my own thing, have my own regimen, and when I'm in there, I'm ready to kill. So you guys are like, yo, what the heck did this guy do all off season? This is amazing. I don't want you doing the same thing I'm doing. I don't want you having the same nuances. I want to be number one, and I'm not giving you any edge. How do you feel about these? I mean, AJ Brown bringing this up about, yo, let's get together, guys. Let's sharpen each other up. Let's do this. Why can't we be like the defensive ends and the tight ends? Let's do this. How do you feel about that?
I'm intrigued that you are opposed to this because I think this is a direct result of what we discussed last week with CJ Stroud. This is what it's become now. It's become come on my podcast like Micah Parsons does after the game. I mean, didn't Micah Parsons have someone on the podcast after a game when they had just played each other? Like didn't that happen? He had a guy on after they just played that team.
Yep.
This is what has become of this new wave where everything is very, for better or worse, like I said, there's really no right answer to this. But it's become very player forward to a degree in which, like you're questioning here, is the individual competitive edge leaving sports. It makes you wonder because it does seem as though everything is far more buddy-buddy than it ever was. I mean, when you hear these old stories about how guys wanted to literally kill the person across from them, I think there's still some of that. I think Max Crosby would be a great example. I just saw a bit on him recently where he was talking about how he had the guy he was playing week 1 last year. I forget exactly who it was. He kept a picture of that guy he was going against around with him at all times. Kept a picture of the guy, just waiting until they squared off again. I loved it because you don't see that. It was like however many months ago it was now, when Deion Dawkins was talking about the Jets. That's why I loved it so much, because you don't hear it, you don't see it anymore. And frankly, Rico, it's what I've been loving about the WNBA recently. You don't hear about this much anymore. Like this Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark thing is kind of awesome because there really isn't that. I mean, we know there's Mahomes versus Allen or whatever. Mahomes and Allen are like buddies off the field. I mean, I know it's when they're on the field, it's all bets are off. They both want the other one to fail. I mean, there's no question.
They're not working out together. You see them working out together?
Right.
I need that competitive edge back.
There's something to it where, I mean, even when, Allen was coming up, right when he was drafted, I mean, he was working with Sam Darnold in the offseason with Palmer. It was always, this is what it is. And this is what these guys have been doing for quite some time now. And it's becoming more and more, collective. And I think I like the tight end university in the sense that it is, this is where I struggle with this, Rico. Like when we talked to Dawson Knox about it, like it was really cool. Like the way that they were talking about it, because I could feel what he was saying, where they're like, we're a fraternity. It was really cool. There's a part of me that really likes it, but there is that part to me, Rico, where I'm like you, where I'm like, I gotta shelter this on my end because we're going to war and we're sharing tactics here. There's something to it. And this is where I struggle with this, Rico, because I don't know if there's a right answer, but there is something a bit off-putting about all of these guys getting together.
Absolutely.
When the name of the game is, I got to be better than you come Sunday.
And it's two ways of looking at it, right? So I use tight end university as one. You got all the top tight ends getting together, and they're mostly, in my opinion, I feel like they're getting together to show you we are one of the best athletes on that field. You want us to block, we block. You want us to split wide, we split wide. You want us in line, we're in line, and do all the things that you need. Pay us. So the more they get together, and the more they put their minds together and get these and sharpen themselves up. It's about getting that long-term deal, that long-term contract. But that's one part of it, right? To kind of like, this is what I'm doing with it's all of mine to kind of like, how are you guys getting your new contracts? Yo, Kittle, you just got your new contract. What you do? And they talk about it. They figure things out. But like, I need that competitive, like I need that Charles Barkley edge. I don't care who you are. I'm here to murder you, right? I need that I'm trying to think of who, like Charles Haley mindset. Like, I'm here to kill you. I don't want to be friends with you. Like, we can be cool. I see you at the bar. I see you somewhere, but I ain't working out with you, bro. Because like when we get on our field, I'm trying to be the best at my position, and I'm sunning you guys. I don't want to be. I mean, sharing.
Jordan hated Isaiah Thomas so much they didn't let him onto the Olympics.
You're absolutely right, man.
I mean, that's
I know
what you're saying. Like, I know what you're saying. Right? And there was something unique, Rico, too, that I think was different here about the tight end situation. And Dawson Knox explained this to us. It was a position for so long. And I think the reason why it doesn't feel this way anymore is because it isn't this way anymore. But the tight end position forever was extremely overlooked. And these guys were getting together because they felt like it was a fraternity of guys who all shared a hive mind in the sense of, we are looked at like, Kittle, Kelsey, you're looked at as the playmakers, but they don't talk about the things we're doing on every other down, blocking as hard as the linemen are every down, not being seen on the majority of these plays where we're not involved. They were talking about what made them kind of do this thing. That's where I felt like it was unique to the tight end position.
It was unique for sure.
Right. So this is where it kind of feels like this is so interesting to me. Because where does the buck stop, Rico? Are we going to get all of the quarterbacks together every year now and start? Because that to me is where I'm drawing the line. Where I'm
draw the line now. Like, how often do we want to see celebration? How often do you want to see our Cortland Finnegan and freaking Andre Johnson go at it? Right? We like that type of like competitiveness, and we like that, with that edge. So like all this kumbaya stuff that's happening, man, bump all that, man. I want some fire. And I know they're all in the same position. I get it. It's not like they're going against DBs and so on and so forth. But I kind of want you to stand alone and be like, I'm that guy, right? I want you guys to be watching what I'm doing when I'm putting up 150 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. How's he doing it? His feet work. Who is he working with? But the problem too is these guys all grow up going to the same camps collegiately.
Yes,
high school, so they're somewhat familiar with one another.
It's right? So different.
So then once
it's just so different.
They go up, they just know it from one another. I just want there to be a killer be killed, that type of mentality. So
you want to know what it really all stems down to, and I wasn't even alive for this, but it's just based on what I hear from the old days. But when free agency became as big as it now is, that's what really killed this, because it's no longer I'm on this side and it's now I one day could be playing with you. I mean, the amount of these guys who wind up playing on 2, 3, 4 teams in their career or more, it's the vast majority of guys. That's why we celebrate the guys who stay with one team their whole career, because it's so rare. So when the free agency was initiated to the degree in which, of course, it is now, I think that's what really killed this. And then, I think that was a great point you mentioned. The 7-on-7s and stuff did not exist back in the day. Now football is a year-round sport. They're out there playing all year, and these guys in these top 100 camps or whatever, they know each other from 14 years old. So, look, here's where I stand on it. I guess I'm fine with it as long as when you get out on the field, and I think that's what it is. I don't think anybody's out there looking to give somebody an edge that's going to outdo them. But I do understand the image that it kind of puts across where, man, I like we always talk about, I like to look at things from the quarterback perspective.
Yep.
And if I knew that like Allen and Mahomes and Burrow and Lamar were out kind of you go back to Brady. The reason we hear so much from Brady now talking about, this and that and him mentoring guys, because he never did it going through. And could you imagine Brady and Manning getting together in the offseason and sharing trade secrets on how each other could get better? I mean, my God, what world?
I've never seen happen.
No. So I don't know, Rico. I think you and I are, and it's especially weird for me because I'm younger than you, but this is I'm approaching a lot of get off my lawn territory with some of this stuff. And I totally understand what you're saying. But at the other end of it, there is something kind of cool about it. So I'm torn, but I think that there has to be a line drawn. And my line the line to me would definitely be the quarterback. If it got to that point.
Yeah, because you said that last week. You're that's where your thing is right there. You stick you stay at the quarterback. I get that part. But yeah, I just see that, like, especially in the NBA, like these guys are all working out together and so on and so forth. But like these guys are going up against each other. So this whole notion of, you know what I mean, working with each other and now I'm facing LeBron. I just went at you all camp. So I kind of know what you're going. Nah, man, I don't want any of that stuff. You're going to train somewhere else. I'm going to train somewhere else. And we get on the field. It's going to be blood. That's just, I guess that's the old school way I look at it. But yeah, man, I found that very interesting that AJ Brown wanted to have like a powwow. Let's get all the receivers together. I want to, let's be able to learn from one another. Like, let's come together and all that good stuff. I was like, man, just keep working on your craft. And I mean, you be all right. You don't need to get together with everybody else. I just don't think it's necessary.
This is interesting. I just looked this up. Ryan's right. I guess I just looked this up. He said Peyton said that him and Brady did used to train together. I got a Sports Illustrated article up saying that they did confirm they used to have private workouts together, but they ensured information was kept behind closed doors. So I don't know. I mean, maybe I guess
now.
We can't understand.
Everybody's got a quarterback coach. Everybody's got a quarterback guy that they go see. I mean, Palmer was Josh's guy. So was Sam Darnold. So they're all, I mean, everybody's in that realm. But
I would say I lean more towards not having a problem with it, but I also totally understand the problem within it, if that makes sense.
No, I listen. It's good conversation to have. I'm just like, you want that killer instinct, right? You want that part of the game, and that's me working out with you. I don't need to work out with you. I'll do my own thing individually, and then you just watch my scores and watch my stats, and you'll know who's been working hard. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. But like you said, man, these guys have been working out together like crazy.
You know what? I guess the ultimate line in the sand would be if the wide receivers were getting together with the corners. Okay, then maybe that's, you know what I'm saying?
Different ballgame.
I guess the more you're thinking about it, the more, I mean, these guys aren't going against each other, so to speak. So I guess that's the probably the right way to look at it, you know?
Yeah.
But
fair. It is fair. It's interesting topic nonetheless.
Yeah,
I just like that AJ Brown. Let's jump into a super chat real quick before we get into our next topic. We got our guys. Oh, we haven't seen Jeff King in a minute. What up, Jeff King? The Kinger in the building. Jeff King drops a hundo. Shout out to my guy, Jeff King. You know we got to ring that. We got to ring that bell for my guy, Jeff King. What up, Jeff? Can they just, so Jeff is referring to the title of our pod today, which we're going to get into shortly. Can they win the AFC East? That's the question. Here's the beauty, folks. Nobody, and I effing mean nobody, knows what this offense is going to look like. No more Diggs, no more Gabe. It's a new show with new athletes. Maybe the greatest show ever or a complete flop. And he's right. It could be and we really hope it's not a flop. We can't afford to have a flop year. We just can't. We gotta keep this train going. With a few, you know what I mean, a few new conductors here and there, a few new pieces on the squad, we should be able to. But Jeff King is right, man. We don't know what's gonna happen. We're hoping for the best. But two big key pieces gone. So we're about to get into how the Bills can fare in this AFC East, but we'll get into that in just a moment. And Signified Knows, remember for 2 months, salute to my guy Signified Knows, says, screw that. I don't want separate caps so teams like the Dolphins can ruin their roster by paying mid QBs. So
that's the thing. It's a double-edged sword. Like where it would disadvantage the Bills, it would also severely disadvantage the Dolphins far more severely than it would the Buffalo paying Josh Allen. So I hear you, Signified.
Yeah, Signified Knows that you'll pay that man.
I think luckily for him and for all of us, I guess, we're a ways away from that. I just think from the legality standpoint, I mean, you got to remember, this is a union-based league. And I don't know if you're going to be able to circumvent all the other positions simply to favor one position being able to make so much more money than the others that they're getting their own realm. Yep. It's a very interesting. This is why I'm dying to see what ends up coming from this, if anything. But the fact that it's even out there is certainly intriguing because, I mean, obviously we've never seen anything like it. So
no doubt about it. Now, before we get into our main topic, did you want to hit any topics before we get into the meat of the potatoes of our show today?
Well, I wanted to talk real quick about something that just came out today via the one and only, our guy, Tyler Dunn. Tyler Dunn, the infamous Tyler Dunn, actually came out with an article today. They had they did a one-on-one with Brandon Beane. There were a couple of experts out there that were very intriguing to me. One in which was the fact that Tyler Dunn this past offseason actually sat down with McDermott for over an hour. And he said in the article that McDermott initiated the conversation and they didn't even really speak about the 3-part series that had come out mid-season questioning a variety of different factors when it came to McDermott. The entire article essentially, Rico, boils down to how Brandon Beane has chefed up, or essentially he has gathered the recipe or the ingredients for the recipe for success for these Bills. Brandon Beane has gathered all the ingredients that are out on the chef table to be thrown together to create that 5-star Michelin star meal. And it's up to Sean McDermott, the chef, to put it all together.
For sure.
And he essentially in this article talks about something that you and I know very well, and everybody watching this and anybody who's a diehard Bills fan knows very well. And that is and this is his words in there. The Buffalo Bills, here we go moment. Kind of like last year where Diggs drops the ball, Allen gets hit by Chris Jones, missed field goal. It's it's Buffalo. Here we go.
Here we go again.
What he's referring to in this article is how it's basically the future of these Bills. And this can parlay right into us talking about the Bills and their chances at winning the AFC East for a 5th consecutive year coming up here in 2024. It comes down to McDermott's ability to have this team in position to where the Chiefs currently are. And I like the way he worded this. When Mahomes takes the field, or when the Chiefs take the field, honestly, at this point, it's not even just Mahomes, because we watched in the Super Bowl last year, the defense, for the most part, win that game for the Chiefs against the 49ers. Spagnuolo and Chris Jones and that beautifully orchestrated defense really was the MVP collectively of that game.
Nasty.
The Chiefs are at a point when they go out on the field, whether it be offensively or defensively, you have the mentality, not only as a viewer, but I'm guaranteeing you as a player, we're going to get this done. I don't know how. I don't know why. I don't know when. I don't know what. I don't know. It's going to happen. And he's basically talking about how McDermott needs to get the Bills into that mindset where they walk out on the field and it's going to happen. And he had talked about the variety of different things that have happened in the past to where they don't exude that confidence and the result shows it. But he targets in on one particular play in last year's divisional, and it's the infamous DeMar Hamlin fake punt. And he was talking about how that was sort of showing how Sean McDermott, despite the fact that that play was as bad as it was showing that McDermott is of the mindset now that they can't just win based on conservativeness. They can't just win based on going out there and, relying on one or two players to get it done. It has to be, you got to basically do whatever you can to overcome your obstacles in front of you to get over that hump. And what I found intriguing about this article, Rico, and I'm interested on your thoughts, it's basically posing the question, is Sean McDermott, with what he has in front of him here, capable of getting the Bills to the point where when they go out on the field, you don't have that anxiety? And I know this is impossible to think about because this is all we have ever had as far as a mindset is concerned with these Bills. Can he get them to the point when you go out there, or when they go out there, you're sitting there thinking, they got this? He feels like Brandon Beane has put the pieces in place. They got the quarterback in place. It's up to McDermott to get those Bills into that position to then get them to move forward. So I ask you, with the question posed, do you think that McDermott has shown signs of his ability to get the team there? And do you think that that's something that we're eventually going to feel as fans when that big moment comes out, when that do or die moment's on the line? We have the utmost faith as opposed to the, here we go, Buffalo Bills once again.
Here we go again. So I have a tough time answering this question because I'm a big fan of McDermott. I think everybody knows I'm a big fan of McDermott. But I also understand that, listen, this is what we're going into year 7.
Yep.
Year 7. Guys sometimes coaches don't even last 5 years with a franchise, and you haven't given me the results that I need. I'm looking elsewhere. What muddies the waters is the fact that both Brandon Beane and McDermott got themselves extensions. Does that ever mean anything? Ask Monty Williams. All right. He's gone after 1 year. Does that happen in the NFL? Sometimes it does. Right. Look at Urban Meyer. Gone. Right. So those things do happen. I like Sean McDermott, but it makes me go back to, you probably heard this already. Tom Brady was on with Colin Cowherd.
Mm-hmm.
And Colin Cowherd's your guy. So I definitely know you heard this.
Yep.
Or maybe you didn't.
Oh, I did.
Perfect. You heard what Tom Brady said. Tom Brady, the conversation was, pretty much paraphrasing here, are you like just racked before the game starts? Are you just so nervous and you're so uptight because of Bill Belichick and how he has you guys? He's like, on the contrary, we're as relaxed as can be because we prepare for everything. So there is no, oh, here we go. We've done this before. We know what's happening. But to go into more detail, and I don't know how in depth McDermott and the team goes, but it's to the point where Brady was like, yo, there's a 5% chance that this play could be run. Let's just move on to the next one. No. Run it back. If there's a 5% chance it could be run, let's look at 3 different variations of this play of, if this happens, here are 3 things we're going to do. Here's the audible I'm going to make. Here's this check. I'm going to check out of this. I'm going to detail. And when you have a coach like Bill Belichick and you have a guy like Tom Brady, things change. Now, question is, we all know that McDermott ain't no Belichick, and Josh Allen is on his way up. Could he be a Tom Brady? Who knows? Tom Brady was different. But those two together has me kind of like, is that the duo that's going to make this thing happen? And I'm questioning it. And this is a big year to make it happen. So will we have those moments of, here you go? Yes, we will, because it's just what it is. He hasn't shown us that it can't be, here we go. So it bothers me to say this, but like, this is the year, and I'm going to repeat myself. This is the year that McDermott's got to get over the hump, and getting over the hump is against the Bengals. Getting over the hump is against the Kansas City Chiefs, especially in the playoffs, is what it is. We don't have an answer for Burrow and the Bengals. We haven't found an answer for the Chiefs in the playoffs. We're 0-3 against the Chiefs. There comes a time where owner Terry Pagula and Kim Pagula are like, shit or get off the pot. We got to find a way to make this happen. And are you the coach to make these things happen? And that is where I'm like, I don't know. I can't confidently say McDermott is going to do it, because we've had 7 years and we keep falling at the same spot. It's the same old leg out, and we trip and fall on our face. What are we going to look down and see? Oh yeah, well, I've seen that before. We keep doing it in different variations. It's starting to be tough as a fan to say, bring that brother back. Bring McDermott back, because I trust in him and I want him to, because I want him to be there, but is my trust fully in him, knowing these 7 years that have gone by and it's been the same damn result every time, losing the same way, same team. There comes a time where you've got to get over that hump. And this has to be the year. This has to be the year. And it's going to be McDermott. Beane ain't going nowhere. Beane is sticking around. It's going to be McDermott's going to have to bite that dust. But that extension, does it muddy things? Do they want continuity along with the coach? Or is your bread and butter with Josh Allen? So if your bread and butter is with Josh Allen, then you better get someone that can align himself and get yourself a damn championship. The Bills are due. They're due for a championship. This franchise is starving for a championship. We have the franchise quarterback. We haven't had that in a long time. We have the franchise quarterback. Don't squander it, because a lot of Bills fans right now are talking, don't squander this man in his prime. He's in his prime. Do not squander it. And is McDermott the pairing we need with Josh Allen? This is a very, very big test for McDermott and his team. But I'll flip it. What's your angle in all of this, and how you see this all playing out with McDermott and him sitting with Ty Dunn and saying the conservativeness has to go. I got to be more aggressive. Fam, you've had 7 years, bro. What are we doing? What say you?
It's all very fair points, all accurate points that you're making, 100%. And I would agree. This year, how could it not be the biggest test? Not only for McDermott, but also, in my opinion, Josh Allen, and perhaps this team as a whole. Because what we're going to see this coming year is going to be representative of what we're going to be seeing throughout the foreseeable future here. The Bills of the past are gone. Half this roster is brand new. So what you're going to see coming into this year, for the most part, is going to be what you're going to be seeing for the near future here. But what has me more confident now than I've ever been is what we saw about the halfway point of last year going into the end of the year, parlaying it into this season. Now, I know I'm a broken record when it comes to this point, but it is 100% the truth. McDermott is not the only one who cannot get over this proverbial hump of the Kansas City Chiefs. Kyle Shanahan, boy genius. Everybody wants Kyle Shanahan to be their head coach. He is the modern day guru of the offensive side of the ball. Cannot get over the hump of the Kansas City Chiefs. 2 blown leads in the fourth quarter in the Super Bowl to those Kansas City Chiefs. You could argue the heartbreak that the Chiefs have caused the Niners is even worse than it's caused the Bills, because they had a championship 15 minutes away from them 2 different times and blew it. You could say the same thing about the Ravens. You could say the same thing about a variety of different teams. The Chiefs have done this to everybody. But McDermott, of course, is the poster child to this because of the amount of times that it has happened. I mean, we have 3 times now where the Bills have ended their season at the hands of the Kansas City Chiefs. But what we saw out of McDermott last year, despite the loss to the Chiefs, and of course, we know that a big reason for that was how depleted that defense was and just how miraculous the Chiefs offense was against it. You go back and look at the statistics, and based on the DVOA, that was far and away, of course it was. I say this all the time because it's incredible to me that this, of course, was the inevitable outcome. That was the best offensive performance of the entire year by the Kansas City Chiefs against those Bills on the road in the divisional, and it, of course, secured them the win. But at that halfway point, the Bills were backed into a corner. The Bills' season was over. I mean, after that Denver Broncos loss with too many men on the field, I thought that this season was over. And then you go into the Eagles game as well. I mean, there were so many moments where the season just felt over. And then you had that article by Tyler Dunn come out, the aforementioned Tyler Dunn there. You had that come out. You had so many things stacked against this team last year, not to mention the injuries, of course, as well. The firing of Ken Dorsey.
Mm-hmm.
What Sean McDermott did last year, for better or worse, getting this team not only into the playoffs, but the 2 seed and a 4th consecutive AFC East title, was insanely impressive to me. Last year, we went into last year with the same exact sentiment that we're going into this year with. We were saying massive year for McDermott. You don't have a defensive coordinator. You're going to be calling the shots here. You're under fire here based on the way that the season before that ended. You go out sad against Cincinnati. Of course, the year before that, the 13-second debacle. What do you got, McDermott? And it looked like he was going to fold drastically under that pressure at the halfway point. What he was able to do to turn around this team, to be able to get them into the position to even be in that game against the Chiefs, much less the playoffs at all, to me was astounding. And what we saw from him about that halfway point was drastically different than I think we had saw from him prior to that. He was willing to allow Josh Allen to essentially be Josh Allen. That was one of the biggest difference makers of the second half of the season last year. Josh Allen was playing without any training wheels on, so to speak. It also seemed like McDermott was far more willing to go for it on 4th down, far more willing to be more aggressive, far more willing to have faith in his team. Not to mention the fact that he was able to take a disassembled defense and put them out on a weekly basis and make them more than competitive. I know the season, of course, didn't end the way we wanted it to, and I know this year is a massive test for McDermott, especially when you're talking about 2 very young coordinators in Bobby Babich and Joe Brady. Both of them being in their first full year as coordinators with these Bills. Major test. But if you're going to have any confidence in McDermott, it should be at its peak right now based on what we just saw. So everything you said is 100% accurate. And everything you said should have everybody as skeptical as they've been, because we have to be. Because this is what the inevitable outcome is every year. It winds up coming down to the same conclusion. And McDermott, of course, winds up being the face of that. But I will say, if you're not confident, I would argue to you that as it stands right now, this should be the most confident you've been, or at least this should be your most optimistic you've been in regard to his ability to go out there and prove the doubters wrong. What he was able to do over the second half of last year, I think if he's able to put a full year together like that, to me, that would answer the call. I just think what he did last year, answering the bell at the halfway point, if we're able to see another progression of that this year, I think that things are trending in the right direction far more than they're trending in the wrong direction.
What do you want to see from McDermott? Because the one thing that he said he needed to do, and it's documented, he said it, is ditching the conservativeness, and getting a little more aggressive. You saw that. The amount of times he went up for fourth down.
Sure.
The amount of challenges that he took. He didn't just sit there and swallow the flag. You know what I mean? He sat there and let me call that. Whether right or wrong, let me do that. So what's going to change this year? He got more aggressive. Okay, so now we've seen that you can get more aggressive. Now what? What is it? Dude, it's not like he's going into year 3, year 4. This is year 7.
Yep.
This is year 7. There comes a time where you're like, fam, and I like McDermott. I'm a fan of McDermott. I really like McDermott. I'd like him to be the coach for a good chunk, but you got to give me the results. And the results that Bills fans need is not that AFC championship. That AFC championship is cool. It's cool. But we've got to get over the hump, man. Like some might say the roster that we fielded a couple years back was the best opportunity and chance we ever had to win that championship. Now we're going into 2 years later. We've lost 2 of our experienced safeties. We don't know if Mike Hyde's going to return, but let's just assume he doesn't return. We've lost our 1-2 punch at receiver position. We lost our experienced center that's had time with Allen, right? So can this roster get it done? Is McDermott, does he have what it takes to get this team over the hump with this new roster? Are we better today than we were last year? And how do we win this AFC East? Are we going to win this AFC East? Now, I'm confident. Don't get me wrong. I want Bills fans to know Bot and I are very confident, but we got to really talk. We got time until the season starts. So we really got to ask these questions and find out what's really good. Is this, honestly speaking, is this roster better than it was last year? And can you take this roster to win not only the AFC East, but push the Kansas City Chiefs, push the Cincinnati Bengals, push the freaking Cincinnati Ravens. You got the Baltimore Ravens. Fam, it's getting to the point where, and listen, Joe Miller said it, man. Sometimes the conversation is just about McDermott versus Andy Reid, and Andy Reid has got McDermott's number. So what do you do then? How do you get around Andy Reid? It's going to take something.
That's what 31 other teams in the league are asking themselves.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's the problem.
But 31 other teams don't have Josh Allen. You got to figure it out with that boy. You got to figure it out. 17 is special.
And the crazy thing is, though, and this is the nutty thing, is, of course, he has a winning record against them in the regular season, the majority of which is on the road in Arrowhead. And they've pretty much outplayed or played with the Chiefs in nearly every game. I mean, that's the thing that's crazy, is it all comes down to a couple of plays, and that's why McDermott gets the criticism that he does. But unfortunately, that's what it comes down to for so many of these teams. That's why the Chiefs and their dynasty here has been so frustrating for so many, because the majority of these teams are in it to the very end with the Chiefs and wind up losing the majority of the time. That's where I struggle with this so much, is because McDermott has been just as competitive as anybody in the league, probably more so than anybody in the league against Andy Reid. But the outcomes certainly don't show it in the biggest moments, but they do show it overall. So that's the key, Rico, because it's not that he can't go toe-to-toe. He certainly can. I mean, he's got a winning record that against them on the road in Arrowhead in the regular season. But we know that nobody gives a damn about that. But this is where I get frustrated with this conversation, because it ultimately comes back to McDermott can't do it. No, he can do it. The problem is that they've just come up short in the biggest moments. And we all know a couple of those moments where they came up short, it wasn't just coming up short, Rico. It was coming up by an eyelash. So that's what's so frustrating about this. And I just go back to Allen, of course, at the podium, as devastated as anybody on the planet in that moment after the divisional game last year. And he just said, got to make one more play than them. And that's really what all it is. I think McDermott is more than good enough to beat Andy Reid, and he's proven it time and time again. It's just this one play here, this one play there. And I'm telling you, McDermott's not the only one in the league asking himself that question, losing sleep over it at night. I'm telling you that.
What's that cliche? The cliche line. It's a game of.
Is it inches?
Yeah, I think it's a game of inches. Fam, I don't want to hear it. I'm getting to the point, and you're talking to a big McDermott supporter, but I don't want to hear it. It's a 13 seconds here. It's a 12 man on the field here.
Well, here's my question to you.
Get it done.
But here's my question to you. So say today. So say the Niners have the same. So say let's fast forward a year from now, and the same thing happens. McDermott loses by an eyelash to the Chiefs in overtime in the playoffs. The Niners, which they very well could, go back to the Super Bowl, as do the Chiefs. And once again, the Niners lose in dramatic fashion late in the ball game in the Super Bowl again. So say both teams had enough. The Bills fire McDermott, and the Niners fire Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan his phone would probably blow up from overheating based on the amount of phone calls he'd be getting to come and coach the next team looking for a spot, including the Buffalo Bills. Because if they're looking for a coach with McDermott being out and Kyle Shanahan was available, I promise you the call would be made. I probably would assume that when that call is made, it would entail probably the highest paid coaching position in the league. What's ironic about that is both of those coaches would share the exact same outcome in the circumstances in which they both got fired. That's what I find to be so interesting about this.
It is interesting.
You got a coach that is considered to be maybe the best in the league right now, who's had his season end in the same fashion McDermott has in the bigger moment. So this is what's so odd to me. You fire McDermott, okay, fine. You would assume Kyle Shanahan would be a better hire. He would be the instant hire if he was available. Yet, ironically enough, that was his downfall. The exact same thing that got McDermott fired. And we all have to come back, Rico, to the center of all this. And it's the mother effing, I hate him so much, I can't stand him, Kansas City Chiefs. It's just, it leaves us sitting here doing this time and time again. Not just us, Niners fans. I mean, you name it, fill in the blank. It's just incredible.
What honestly stands out, and it's sad, is the 0 and the 3. When it comes time when it really matters,
yes.
0 and the 3. You can't go 0 and 4 against the same individual. It just can't happen. Something's got to change. And most folks, I guarantee you, if we fall to the same team the same way, for whatever reason, they will be calling for that brother's head. And the media will say, "Don't do that to Josh." That's what it's going to be about. It won't really be about McDermott. It's going to be, don't do that to Josh. Don't do that to that guy. This guy's he's on his way. Potential Hall of Famer. Never know. If he continues to do what he's doing, he could be there. Don't do it. He's 28? Don't do it to that guy, man. So if Bean has to make a decision on the guy that he drafted, that he felt that this could be the guy, but I've been with you for so long, you're my guy. Yo, tough decisions are gonna be made. And you damn right, Shanahan's phone's gonna be blasted off the hook. But here's a question for you. Does McDermott have to get us to the Super Bowl this year, at least for you and I to be okay with him having more time with the Bills? That's a fantastic question.
Silas always has the hard hitters.
Silas an asshole.
I mean, my answer is no. Because
really?
Yes. I mean, to me, that is just it's an unfair bar. It's an unfair bar. And I think if you set that precedent, which of course all these teams do, they have to. That's the precedent every year.
Joe's, I think you guys are on the same page. Proceed, sir.
I will say though, like Joe's saying, and you know me, I love McDermott too, but I'm more than willing to hear things out. I'm all for the betterment of the Buffalo Bills, whatever that might be.
We agree.
Right at the end of the day.
Okay.
And unfortunately, if that has to come at the loss of X, Y, and Z here, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm rooting for the logo. That's the way it is. But I do like McDermott. There's a lot of things about him I really do like. There's obviously things about him I don't. I don't think the bar being get to the Super Bowl is fair. However, what Joe's bringing up is something that I do think is something to be considered. If the Bills get to the divisional for the 5th consecutive year and they lose in some similar fashion, or, you know what, honestly, frankly, they just lose, I understand the conversation. I point blank understand it. If you lose in heartbreak fashion, or if you lose the way you lost to Cincinnati, either way, it's a loss. And I don't know which one's worse, to be honest with you. There's part of it that thought the way that they lost to Cincinnati was just worse. They didn't show up.
Nope.
I'm telling you, it's fair. I saw a list the other day from CBS Sports. I forget the writer to give him credit, but he gave out a top 8 list of coaches on the hot seat, and McDermott rounded out the list at 8, which I thought was fair because I don't think he's on the hot seat. But what I thought the writer was insinuating was he's on the cusp based on the result, because nobody's thinking he's going to have a rough regular season. No one's thinking he can't lead this team to the playoffs. The seat gets warm in the big moment. That's what this team boils down to. So I guess to answer the question, is it fair to weigh the options?
I'm having a hard time with this one.
It's beyond fair, Rico. It's beyond fair, of course. But my question will always be this. What is the replacement? And not only that, does anyone else consider how much this defense might suffer from the change? Because this is the one thing that nobody ever wants to talk about. It all comes down to Josh Allen and the offense, and no one ever wants to give credit to the fact that this defense has been a top 8 or so defense every single year that McDermott has been the head coach. The problem with the defensive head coach is it's not sexy. They're not drawing up the plays for Allen. They're not getting the credit when the offense is dominating. That's the problem. So I have 2 questions that I pose. But mind you, I'm in the camp of all bets are off if they lose in the fashion that they do year in and year out here again. I'm all in favor of, hey, let's take a look here. But you have to ask yourself, 1, who's the replacement? And 2, what's the loss going to be on the defensive side of the ball? Because a lot of people out there take for granted what this defense has been under Sean McDermott, and a lot of it has to do with what he has brought to this organization on that side of the ball.
All right. This was a tough one for you, I can tell.
It is. I mean, how could it?
It was a tough one. Great question.
But it is tough. How could it not be?
It's a very tough question.
You're talking about. You're not firing a guy for being bad necessarily. That's what's so tough about this. You're not getting rid of a guy for being a bad coach. That's what's so hard, to go forward with this.
Because it's a results-driven business.
Right.
And I pay you for results. Actually, I pay you for you to give me a Super Bowl. That's why I pay you. That's what I pay you. I pay you to coach these guys and get me to the Super Bowl. I pay you for your brain to figure things out, figure these players out, and get me to the Super Bowl. I pay Bean for him to get the damn groceries. Here's the black card. Go and get what you need to get. All right? Bean did his part, whether you want to call it by luck or not. He got the quarterback. Boy, does he have the pieces on the offense side of the ball too. Here it comes down. He comes down to this, brother. It really does come down to this. I got to bring up Silas's question again. Does McDermott have to get us to Super Bowl this year, at least for you to give him an okay? Sorry, for you to be okay with him giving more time? Yes, he has to go to the Super Bowl.
I'm glad you said this. Now I'm going to pose this. Then I have to pose this. Then since you said yes.
All right.
What happens if they play? Let's say they play the Niners. Okay, just easy example, and he loses in the same fashion that he loses to the Chiefs, but to the Niners in the Super Bowl. Okay, he got there. The results the same at the end of the day. Results the same. What's your answer then?
The results are the same, but I pay you to get me to the Super Bowl. What happens in the Super Bowl? I mean, it is what it is, but you gave me the opportunity to have a chance to be the world champ. That means you took care of business against the Chiefs. That means you took care of business against the Ravens, the Bengals, whoever. You got me there. But if you stumble against any of these teams, he's in a lose-lose situation. Because this AFC is going to be tough. And just imagine the Jets make it. And we falter to the Jets. You're out of here, bro.
And we got to have a conversation.
You're out of here. You're out of here whether you lose to the Jets, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Chiefs. You have to make it to the Super Bowl. You have to. And what makes this, what muddies the waters is that damn extension. What does that mean? Does it mean anything? If they didn't give an extension, I would say he's as good as gone if he doesn't get it done.
See, I don't give any credence to that at all. I think it means nothing.
You think it means nothing? I think
no.
And you're probably right. You're probably right. But the fact that they did do it, it bothers me.
But anyway, you know what? That was a PR move last year, though. Big time. They did that right in the heat of all of that bullshit about McDermott and the team unraveling. Don't you remember that's when it happened?
That is true. It was odd. We're like, really?
Yeah, that happened. It was a vote of confidence. Exactly right. From Terry Pagula. Hey, put this to rest. We got our guy. We know at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
It does. And he has to get a Super Bowl. And I'm sorry. And I'm going to tell you right now, the Bills will be a very hot destination for a coach. And they're going to need to get a coach that just has to be able to tap in. Now, here's another thing, too. You were talking about, like, well, who's going to coach the defense? And who's going to do this? Typically, if McDermott doesn't do what he's supposed to do, and that's get us to the championship, and they decide, you know what, both ways. Or McDermott says, I'm walking away. And instead of you firing me, I quit. Whatever, okay? He pulls that. Whatever the case is, he's out. Maybe the new offensive coordinator that comes in, maybe they retain Brady. Who knows, right? But let's just say they come in and grab a top flight guy. They might keep Babbage. Let's say Babbage is a star in the making. And that defense is humming, which is we couldn't get done with McDermott. Yo, Babbage could easily take over this defense. I'm not saying we're about to find out this year how well he can do, but maybe they retain his services, keep things intact. It's the offense that we want to make sure that we get things rolling. It's Josh Allen that we want to tap into something even more to get him to where he's getting. And it sounds crazy to me because the offense is not the issue. It hasn't. It's just we just can't get over the freaking hump. Why? Decisions, things that just happen along the way. Andy Reid is the issue. Either way, he's got to get it done. It just has to happen.
All right. So then let's say, okay, so you're telling me that this time next year, if it doesn't happen, you're going to be pounding the table. McDermott's got to go.
It's going to be tough for me to do that, but I'm going to be like, dude.
Well, that's what you're saying. You're saying got to get to the Super Bowl.
He's got to get there.
Okay.
He's got to get there, man.
So, okay, so let's just talk hypotheticals based on what's going to probably be out there. Would you swap him out for Mike Vrabel?
No. I don't like Mike Vrabel.
Now, here's one to me. Here's one to me that would be the all-time, like, most Disney Channel original movie bullshit you've ever seen. And that's Bill Mother effing Belichick.
Stop it.
Coming in and winning it for the Bills. I can't think of anything more effed up than that. But
do you know how crazy that would be?
Sign up for that?
Do you know how crazy that would be?
It would be the most insane thing ever. I can't, Rico. I'm sitting here thinking about it. I want to pull my skin off my body. In both frustration, but also in the fact that it would be the greatest story ever told.
Oh my God.
Can you see it now? Whipping wins in Orchard Park in the middle of January, Bills Chiefs, and Belichick's on the sideline with that gigantic Bills parka. And he calls up, or you know what I'm talking, whatever the hell.
He's hoodie. He's rocking that hoodie, baby. Let's go.
You can't even see his face. It's redder than an apple. He's got 9 layers on. He's pissed as hell. And he dials up a Malcolm Butler type play for the Bills to beat the Chiefs. I mean, can you even?
This isn't say where we got. How do we get here?
Well, we got here because we got to talk about, because at the end of the day, if people want to have this conversation, and the conversation needs to translate into, okay, well, who's next up? Belichick's going to get a job next year.
Get to the game this year. The game being the Super Bowl, or Sean, you're gone. Just saying it. It's business. Those are the ABCs of business, folks. Always be closing, and he's got to close the deal. Anyway, listen, Silas with that damn question. Great question. It really is a good question. And we want success for our Bills. And is there a way that the Bills don't make it to the Super Bowl, but they retain the services of McDermott. He has to take the Bengals, take them down. He has to beat the Chiefs in a way in the playoffs.
Dude, you're nuts to think, though, if they go like 12-5 again and lose in the playoffs, that they're firing him. I just don't see it.
Listen, do you know who Marty Schottenheimer went 14-2? This guy could not get it done. He had Rivers.
I know
he had LT, one of the best running backs ever. You had a bevy of stars on that squad. 14-2. This is the epitome of like, yo, he had us 14-2, and we get to the playoffs, and it's the same freaking results. You gotta go. You got to.
Dude, I can't get over the idea of Belichick winning the Super Bowl for the Bills. I don't even know what I do.
The fact that you have that even in my head right now, that's crazy to me. That's crazy. So
listen, dude, this, I'm telling you, if this comes to fruition, what you're saying, like if what you want to happen happens, Belichick's a top 3 candidate immediately.
You think Pagula could do it? You think he could bring himself to doing it? If it's business,
I mean, that's what it is.
Bring him here. It's gonna be.
I'll say I'm on the record for this though. If it does get to this point, I want to see what an offensive head coach looks like. If it does get to this point, so that's why I'd be out on Belichick. If it does end up getting to this point, I would like if you're gonna change, then change. You know what I mean? That's probably why I'd be out on Mike Vrabel as well.
Yeah, but Belichick has ties, man. He's been in the game a long time. Maybe he goes and says, you know what? I'm just gonna get myself a sexy offensive coordinator from the collegiate level, and let's roll. I'll be head coach. You run the offense. I don't meddle in those things. So many things can happen, but we're not there yet. We're not there. We want the Bills. Trade for McVay. Golly, we'd have to give up a lot.
I don't know what that would entail, but that would be where I'd sign on the dotted line. Oh yeah,
that you'd give up a lot, brother. If you saw what the Broncos gave up for Sean Payton,
oh god.
The Bills would have to give up a whole lot. I'm not in on trading for coaches. I don't like that at all. I don't like it.
It's very odd.
It's odd. It's very odd for me. Trading for a coach. Yeah. But
it worked out for the Patriots.
Stranger things have happened. And I'm telling you right now, Schottenheimer was a fantastic coach, had the team winning every year, perennial Super Bowl contender.
Well, the reason that's a great example is because that's what, unfortunately, that's the track the Bills have been on. They have been on the path of the Phillip Rivers Chargers.
And somebody in the chat earlier said, I forgot who said it, but it was Andy, and this is what we can hang on. Andy Reid, 20 plus years of not even sniffing.
He's another one. He got fired after multiple appearances.
You know, it would suck if McDermott was let go and he went somewhere else and he got the job done.
Well, that's another thing you have to consider. He's going to be hired within a week if he gets fired.
Listen, let's talk good juju's here.
Please.
He says, please. So what I want to come down to is this. Is this roster better than last year's? So let's go position to position. And you let me know how you feel about it. Obviously, quarterback room is better right off the bat with the backup quarterback. I'm glad Mitchell Trubisky's back. I think he's the best backup for Josh Allen that anybody can ask for. He's mobile enough. He's got starting under his belt. Starting games under his belt. I mean, he's the type of quarterback that can get you to 500. He'll lose you a couple, but he'll win you a couple. That's just what it is. The backup situation is far better than last year's. Kyle Allen, my gosh, I don't know what the hell that was. I hated that. It was my buddy. I don't care about who your buddy is. All right. Quarterback room, better. Running back room, better. You're pretty much coming back with the same guys, but you added some youth and you added a dog in Ray Davis. I think the running back room is better. I think we're going to run the ball a lot more. You saw what Joe Brady was able to muster when he took over. He says, we're going to change the philosophy a little bit. We're going to run the ball. We're going to keep defenses honest. And we're going to win games. And that's exactly what they did. They went from a point, whatever percent chance of making the playoffs to, shoot, we just won the Den division. Tight end room.
The same.
Wash. Move it over. Let's go to the O-line room. This is the key.
Slightly worse.
I would somewhat agree. Your left tackle is the same. Your right tackle is the same. Some might say he'll improve.
I'm very interested to see what the impact of the loss of Mitch Morse.
Yes. So the conversation is, some folks might say Mitch Morse last year was okay, or they might say he was great. Actually, you know what? Let's not just us talk about it. I'm gonna look into the PFF grades. I mean, that's the only thing we can. Some people say the only grades I trust from PFF is only the O-line. If they jump on the O-line, then cool. So let's go to the O-line and see what it looked like for.
I think he was the third overall grade behind Dawkins and Spencer Brown, I believe.
How does that make you feel?
Well, I'm fine with it. I mean, Morris obviously up there, numerous injuries, and you wanted to see the elevation of Spencer Brown. So I was somewhat fine with that. Because it wasn't by a wide margin, I believe.
So let me share my screen real quick, because Mitch Morse is a fascinating topic of conversation, because you're losing somebody that Josh had great rapport with. That's number one. And you're looking at the grades that he had during the season. You're gonna 60 against the Jets, 71, 52 against the Washington Commanders, 65, 61, 71.
This is so interesting to me, though, because like the Commanders game, for instance, they won by like 30. This is where these things get interesting to me.
Isn't it very interesting? For sure.
Yes.
But you're going up against dogs. That line, do you remember that line?
Yeah, that's a good point.
That line was Deron Payne, Allen. At the time, I mean, listen, they had some boys on that squad.
Same with the Eagles right there.
Which the Eagles, right? Look at the Eagles game. So that against the Jets, 79 grade. Then against the Eagles, 44, 58, 52 against the Chargers. That Chargers game was a tough one for us, right? So 49 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? In a win. So it's interesting. So some folks might say, he was okay. He was getting older. So a lot of those things are playing out. But to me, I look at it as we moved on from an aging player. We got younger in Connor McGovern. Some might say that Mitch Morse is better than Connor McGovern. So then what are we talking about here at the center position? We got younger. Is Connor McGovern that much better? Is it a better fit? So now you got weaker at the center position, some might say, because if Mitch Morse is better than Connor McGovern, you're weaker at the center position.
I think we have to say, because we just don't know what it is.
And you're weaker at the left guard position.
Yes.
So slightly weaker?
Yes.
All right. I think we can both agree, unless some people feel different. Right now, Silas is saying, yep, but the grades weren't good in terms of, I guess, with Mitch Morse, right?
I mean, the bar is high right now, because last year was the best overall collective performance by this offensive line since Josh Allen's become the quarterback. So the bar it's about as high as it's been right now for this offensive line.
I say it's about the same or just slightly below.
Yeah, I think we have to say slightly below, just because we have had Mitch Morse snapping the ball to Allen his entire career. We don't know what it looks like without him. Therefore, we have got to say it's a step down until we are proven it's not.
Absolutely. And then we have Cedric Van Pran Granger sitting in the wings, but we can't depend on that. We just gotta, for guys that have played in the game and played the league, and you got Connor McGovern saying, I'm going back to my natural position. So maybe he's excited, maybe he's ready to roll. We'll see. Let's go to the receiver room. Better or worse?
I mean,
he says, let's break it down. Let's break it down. Gabe Davis gone. Stephon Diggs gone. We already know what time it is with Stephon Diggs. One of the best in the game. He's a top 10 receiver. I think he's a top 5, top 6 receiver. I like his game, right? But there's some dogs in this game. So we'll be nice to say we're top 10 receiver. Gabe Davis, complimentary piece, inconsistent. But we gain rookie Keon Coleman. Will he be able to get separation in this game? To be determined. We got ourselves a jack of all trades in Curtis Samuel. We got something there. Khalil Shakir is looking to have a breakout year. But we had him on the squad last year. So are we better at the receiver position? If we're being honest, and we're doing the same thing we did with the offensive line, we slightly got worse.
I mean, we can't say slightly. It might be, as it stands right now, it's one of the worst wide receiver rooms in the NFL.
All right. I want to see if you wanted to keep it a buck. You're keeping it a buck with me now.
I got
all
it.
Right.
But it's interesting, I'd say, nonetheless, because it is now going to, one, I think, alleviate pressure from Allen. I think that that's inevitable here. I think removing the constant need mentally, whether it was executed or not, to get Diggs the ball is certainly something. And I think the fact that you don't have an alpha means you have to rely on a collective effort. I think there's a lot of interesting aspects to this. But as far as personnel is concerned, it's definitely worse. And as far as the roster makeup is as it stands right now, it's not great. It doesn't scare anybody. But there's something awfully intriguing about it nonetheless, and I don't know why, but for some reason, Rico, I just think it's going to bring out the best version of Josh Allen we've seen.
I'm with you in that regards because, I mean, this is not anything new. I think people know this. When you have, and it's weird because Tom Brady was talking about it too. When you have a number one receiver, you cannot go 2.5 quarters without hitting your number one receiver. Something is wrong with that picture. And there were moments that my man Diggs wasn't getting involved. I wouldn't say 2.5 quarters worth, but there were moments where he wasn't getting involved. Joe Brady did a good job of getting him the football with whether it was a receiver screen or a quick slant or whatnot. I didn't like those plays for Stephon Diggs, but it is what it is. But I think Silas is hitting it. The receiver room has a lower talent ceiling, but a much higher floor at talent. I trust these receivers. It could be a good group. I agree. I think this is where Bot and I are.
Yeah, I mean, that's the exciting part. It's the unknown. It's also the nervousness of it.
That's right. There's no pressure to look for my number one receiver. Where is he? Now it's play free, man. Whoever is open, you getting it, right? If it's my guy, Dalton Kincaid that's getting it 18 targets, you getting 18 targets because you can't be stopped, right? Or we're spreading the football around. You're getting 3 receptions. You're getting 4 receptions. Nobody's getting 10. It might be that way, and Josh Allen thrives. We'll see. So the receiver room, although you don't have the big names in Gabe Davis and you don't have the big names in Stephon Diggs, we'll say this is slightly lesser. It's a lesser receiver group, but we're very intrigued to see what's going to happen with that group.
And to me, it's ultimately the reason why I think Josh Allen wins the MVP this year. I think Josh Allen wins the MVP this year. Really? I've actually never been more confident in him winning an MVP than I am him winning it this year. Yes, because I think that these are things that are taken into account from a voting perspective. And I think that his play is inevitably going to increase based on the need for it to increase with the lack of talent around him. I think that when you factor in the departures, because I think he's going to have a big year. And I think when you factor in the departures, then you also factor in the notion that it has to be a great year for him in order for them to succeed. Now that's the case every year, but none more, I would say no more so than this year coming up here, just very based on the losses. So I think that there's something odd about the step back in the wide receiver room somehow being a step forward for Josh Allen. I don't know how to explain it. There's just something to me about the it's going to free him to some degree, I think.
I get what you're trying to say.
And I also just think, Rico, on top of that, and this is crazy to say because every game, every year, you need him to pretty much play like Superman in order for them to win. That's been one of the biggest criticisms of the Bills. But I just feel like it's never been more inevitable than this year that has to be the case. And I just think that if he rises to that occasion, it's going to be that much more impressive based on what he's out there with.
Not only that, with the combination of a full offseason with Joe Brady, you saw what Joe Brady was able to do in half a year and kind of scrapping things from his own repertoire and taking things from the previous OC and Ken Dorsey. So now you got a full offseason. You don't have to game plan for, okay, got to get this guy the foot. Now it's, okay, the new dynamic. Things have changed. So this is going to be an interesting group to watch this year. So that's why I'm looking at this roster. Can it compete? Is it going to be the same? Is it better than last year? You see what's happening in the AFC East. Very interesting. So defensive line, better or worse?
I would say pretty much the same.
What would you say? So watch. You got Greg Rousseau coming back. You got AJ.
Miller can do.
You got Solomon coming back. We drafted Solomon. We've got a better interior line, in my opinion. You got Daquan coming back. You got Duke. We just drafted Duke, which I think is going to be an absolute dog. So I think this D front will probably be slightly better slightly better. I'll give the edge. And Von Miller coming back a lot healthier. I think slightly better. Linebacking crew, better. You got those two boys coming back healthy.
Yeah, contingent on health, definitely. Absolutely.
Better. Cornerback room, pretty much the same. Obviously, Trey White leaving, but Trey White was gone early. So we have Rasul Douglas and Christian Bedford. Christian Bedford was actually, I don't know if you saw this, was #1 rated zone corner according to PFF.
Really?
So we got something really special. And Kyer was having a phenomenal offseason. So there's your cornerback 3. Intriguing cornerback room. The most important one is the safety room. Are we better or worse at the safety room? We got younger, but do we necessarily get better? We lost Jordan Poyer.
It's another one where I feel like you just can't definitively, you have to say worse until you're proven. I mean, you had maybe the best safety tandem in the league for 7 years going. So it's really hard to sit here and say it's not. I mean, you can't sit here and say it isn't worse, but that's the whole thing back to the wide receiver room, Rico, where it's like you get younger, you have this upside potential. It's the unknown that has us both excited and, of course, somewhat worried as far as what this year is going to be. I mean, have you ever been more unsure of what the hell is about to unfold in this coming season? Because there's a lot of uncertainty.
Honestly, there's a sense of excitement. There's a big sense of excitement, and I'm looking forward to it. But I do want to post something though. Bobby pointed this out to me. We were just talking about this last night about like this safety room and the fact that we're youth versus obviously age and experience, right? And when you look back at Jordan Poyer's playoff grading, his coverage, yikes. It wasn't good in the playoffs. It wasn't good. He graded a 44 in coverage in Kansas City, although he had a game-altering forced fumble. It wasn't a good one. Now, mind you, he's probably helping a lot on AJ Klein. AJ Klein was obviously on the field, so there's probably a lot of help in there. But regardless, didn't grade well against Pittsburgh, 52.8, and did not grade well against the Kansas City Chiefs. So it goes to show you, okay, listen, maybe it wasn't as bad as it wasn't as bad as a decision to move on from those boys and bring in some youthful guys. So it's going to be fun to see how this plays out. So this, in totality, this roster and what we're bringing this year, can this roster win the AFC East again for the 5th time? Will this roster go 5 in a row? Drive for 5. What say you?
Absolutely. I have absolutely no qualms in saying that whatsoever. I have no loss in confidence in this team's ability to win the AFC East. And it's not even necessarily based on my confidence in the Bills, more so than it is my lack of confidence in the rest of the division. You remove New England entirely just because you have to. There's just no shot in hell. And then once again, I don't understand where the confidence comes from in the Jets, who haven't made the playoffs in 12 years. And it's just constant. What the hell is going on in New York every time you read something, right? There's no way that organization, as dysfunction as it is, can go out and do that until I'm proven otherwise. I mean, the fact that people have the confidence that they do in this team, despite all the dysfunction in that organization, blows my mind, especially to the extent in which people have the confidence. It's not just going and winning the AFC East. The amount of people that have this team making a Super Bowl run is nuts to me. It's been over a decade, the longest drought in the NFL. And for some reason, there's just a insane amount of confidence. And that, of course, is all contingent on the health of Aaron Rodgers, and we shall see what that ends up looking like. So, I mean, I have, at the end of the day, you can go through these divisions, and the majority of the time, the winner in which you're going to choose from each division is going to probably have the better quarterback. The Bills have the best quarterback in that division. I don't think it's particularly close. The Jets have a phenomenal defense and a great young roster that's certainly upcoming, but I mean, let's face it, this team has gone out of its way to be a dysfunctional mess for the last decade or so, and they've given you no reason to think that has changed. So why should I think it has changed? So once again, I will believe it when I see it with the New York Jets. And then, of course, the Miami Dolphins. I have the exact same sentiment, almost more so, because they have proven that they're there to do it, and they still can't do it. Last year, to me, was the biggest telltale of all of this. The Miami Dolphins had a 3-game lead in December on these Buffalo Bills. It was tortoise in the hare type shit.
Absolutely.
And here comes the tortoise and the Buffalo Bills at the end of the year crossing the finish line by a nose hair. 3-game lead, they unfold. I mean, they absolutely unravel against Will Levis and a Tennessee Titans team who hadn't had a home victory, I think, up until that point or something crazy in that game. Blew up, what was it, a 21-point lead or something in the fourth quarter?
It was a wild game, first of all. I turned the thing off.
It was one of the most insane games I've ever seen in my life. I couldn't believe what I was watching.
Unreal.
And then at the end of the day, it all came down to them just having to beat the Bills. Despite all the unraveling that happened in Miami, they just had to beat the Bills. And they couldn't. You look at Josh Allen's stats against Miami. You look at the Bills' overall stats against Miami and the success against them year in and year out. I mean, I understand the sentiment around the Bills right now isn't what it used to be. There's definitely a loss in confidence, and I understand that based on the veteran leadership that's been lost, the amount of new guys on this roster. But I want to know the argument to the replacement of this Bills team at the top of the throne. Because right now, despite the losses for these Bills, I mean, the Bills were down to their last leg on defense last year going into that game against Miami, and they still pick off 2 on the final drive of the game to win it. The Miami Dolphins offense couldn't do anything in the latter half of that game, and the Bills offense, frankly, couldn't do anything either, and they still found a way to beat them. So it's not even as much of my confidence in the Bills, Rico, as much as it is my lack of confidence surrounding the rest of the AFC East. So to answer the question, yes, the Bills to me should 100% still be the favorite to win the division.
And the way I look at it this way is the road to getting that AFC is through Buffalo. It's that you've got to take us down before you can. My man said he's got the photo of my man Hassan Reddick in Japan playing Mulan instead of being a mini camp and training camp and all that good stuff. So we'll see how that all plays out. I don't know if he's trying to get a new contract. Who knows? Listen, at the end of the day, roster or not, the key factor in this is having 17 and having 17 focused and having 17 understanding what's at stake here. People are going to be watching the Bills with just everything the Bills do. They're going to be watching the Bills. They're going to be combing through everything with a fine-tooth comb to find out how and when the Bills are going to collapse. They want to see it. They somewhat want to see it. But they also are looking for the Bills to have great success without Diggs, without Poyer, without, the old heads were on the squad, Mitch Morse. Can McDermott and Bean right the ship and get these guys back on track to get in the 5th straight? We have the absolute firepower to do it. So I'm with you. I think we both agree is happening. Now, I do have a off-the-cuff question for you. If you're picking one AFC team that is going to throw a lot of people off and they'll be better than people anticipate, who is that AFC team?
Like a team that wasn't there last year that
wasn't in the playoff last year, and they're going to push and potentially make the playoffs, but people are going to be put on notice by this team.
The LA Chargers.
Ooh,
I think the addition of Jim Harbaugh is going to do wonders for this team. I think that there was no team in the NFL more held back by their coach than the Chargers were by Brandon Staley. That roster was way too good to fold the way they did year in and year out. And I think that those days are done in LA under Jim Harbaugh. I just do not think that is going to be the case. I don't think he'll allow it to be the case. Now, the only issue for them is that is the toughest division in the NFL. So it might take a bit, but I think they'll certainly be better. The one other team I would look at, Rico, is the Indianapolis Colts as well. I think the Colts will be right there. They almost made the playoffs last year with Gardner Minshew. Anthony Richardson will be back and healthy. Real good young up-and-coming team with a good young coach. So I think they'll be on the cusp as well, and that division's winnable. I mean, obviously, Houston's going to be the top dog right now, but those are the two teams I look at as far as teams that I think will be in the mix and will be better.
Give me these two teams. Give me the Raiders. Actually, I was going to say the Browns, but that division is just too tough. I don't know if the Browns can go against the Bengals and Steelers, I'm going to give the Steelers a chance too. But anyway, Tennessee Titans, bro. I think they're going to shake the AFC South. They're going to shake it up a little bit. They're going to give the Texans a run for their money. I think they're going to give some boys for the run for their money, man. The Jaguars, I don't know about the Jaguars, man. I'm not in on Trevor Lawrence. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying Trevor Lawrence. And he's a good quarterback. I'm not buying Trevor Lawrence. He's all right. But
and the other thing we got to factor in
Titans, though, bro. They're going to be something, man.
What makes you say that?
Bro, it's just the new coaching. They firepowered on defense. They got themselves some weapons on offense. Calvin Ridley, D-Hop, third-year player, Treylon Burks, Powell at running back. You got Will Levis is going to be killing it. They improved that O-line. Fam, they're going to be a much improved team. They brought in cornerback from the Chiefs, Snead.
Yep.
Oh,
that's true.
Gonna be a good squad. They've improved vastly. Now, I'm not saying they're going to kill the game. I just think they're going to be a much improved team, and they will be pushing for that playoff contention for sure. But that AFC South is going to be stacked as well, because the Colts are, like you said, Colts are going to be doing it, man. AD Mitchell out there. I'm hearing great things out of AD Mitchell. So you got AD Mitchell and them boys out there. Listen, it's gonna be something. It's gonna be something cool, man. This AFC is like, you got Joe Burrow back.
That's what I was just gonna say. How quickly we forget. That's the team that really should be the
Bengals, fam. It's gonna be this. That's why it's imperative that these Bills handle their business in the AFC East, because we can't do what we did last year of like, are we gonna make it? Are we not? Are we gonna be a wild card? Are we this? Are we that? Win the freaking division. Win the division, because this AFC is going to be a gauntlet yet again.
Yep.
Yet again. Man, oh man. So we'll see. But great conversation today. I thought that it was interesting with what we do with McDermott. If McDermott doesn't go to the hump, I think that's going to be a question through training camp, first few weeks. How will the Bills look? Because the first 4 weeks are very telling. Very telling on how a potential team is going to look, man. Going 0-2, 0-3. I'm not saying the Bills will do that, but like, it's hard to dig out of a 0-3 start or a 1-2 or a 1-3 start. That's tough.
And that schedule is something.
Oh my gosh. Let's talk about the schedule, fam. It's going to be tough, man. But I mean, we sat there and we said 12-5. A lot of Bills fans think we go 12-5. We did a poll, a fan voting with the Buffalo Fanatics on Instagram. We have 100,000 followers. Bro, Bills fans had us going 15-2.
I think Pierre must have voted 100,000 times.
I was about to say, Pierre was all over that, man. But it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun. Silas, my man, says Tennessee also shot Sean Murphy-Bunting at cornerback, man. They also drafted Sweat to put next to Simmons. This team is going to be something, man. I'm telling you, people better not sleep on these Tennessee Titans, bro.
And the Bills play them in week 7.
Bro. We're going to have our hands full, number 1 in week 1, first and foremost.
I mean, the first 6 weeks are pretty wild.
It's gonna be something, man. It's really gonna be something. But the beautiful thing about this whole situation is we got a quarterback in 17 that has got himself an opportunity to prove to a lot of folk, to prove to his counterparts, to prove, to certain players that decided to leave the squad and go elsewhere, that we still got what we got. I mean, we still go. If me at 17, me under center, we got it. We gonna roll out, and we gonna make sure that we're safe and we're good. It's just that when we get to the playoffs, this is when things heat up. Who steps up, who doesn't, and we'll go from there, man. So we'll see. We'll see. Anything else that you wanted to touch on, my brother, before we dip out of here?
That is that, baby. One Friday closer to the season. We're inching close. Next week will be 10 weeks, and we're drumming on, and training camp's right around the corner. I'm getting excited, brother.
Yeah, listen, I'm getting excited for 2 things. First and foremost, the drive. I was looking at how long it takes to get to New Rochelle. It's a good 12-hour drive. Not bad. I didn't know we're 1 hour away from New York City, though.
Yeah,
New Rochelle. Only an hour?
Yeah, it's right there. I mean, if it wasn't for traffic, you could get there probably in like 25 minutes.
Shoot, hop, skip, and a jump in New York City?
Yeah.
Wifey's never been to New York City. I've been there countless times. She's never been to New York.
Wow.
I don't know. It's too big city for her. I don't know if she might like it. But we'll see.
It's gonna be a weekend for the gang. I'm telling you.
Hey, watch out! By the way, did you see? I mean, I don't know if it's true, but the Madden ratings came out. I got my feelings a little bit. I thought they were the Madden ratings. People are saying, no, it's not the Madden ratings. It's the current ratings right now. The real ratings haven't come out yet. But what say you on this? They had Pat Mahomes at a 99. I'm good with that. It's Pat Mahomes. Yep. He's that dude. They had, who was it? They had Josh Allen 93, 92, Joe Burrow 93. They had Lamar Jackson at 98. I lost it after that one. I said,
yeah, that's not. I'm looking. Allen's at 4.
Folks are telling me that that's not the real rating. It's if you're playing Madden right now, that's what they have it as we speak. So when the real ratings come out, your top 3 quarterbacks, and what will they be rated? We'll say top 5. Top 5.
What I think it should be, or what I think it will be.
What you think it should be?
Mahomes, Allen, Lamar, Burrow, and
Hurts.
Yeah.
Or would you put Dak in there?
I wouldn't put Dak in there. You got to factor into in Madden, the running is huge.
It is huge.
So that's why Lamar is probably ranked as high as he is.
So Lamar's rated 98 in Madden. That's out right now. This is what I'm talking about, Silas. So right now they have 99 for Pat Mahomes, 98 Lamar Jackson, 93 Burrow, 92 Allen. Dak Prescott cracked the 90, 88 Tua, Hurts 87, Herbert 87, Brock Purdy 85, and Kirk Cousins 84. I can't believe Kirk Cousins got up there to 84, but that's odd. That's weird. But anyway, Pat Mahomes will probably still be 90. He'll be the 99 club.
Yep.
Who's gonna be the second best rated quarterback?
If I were ranking, I would have Mahomes at 99. I would have Allen at 96. I would have Lamar.
I agree.
At 95. I'd have Burrow at 92.
Really?
Yeah.
You'd have him that low, huh?
Well, because you can't really run with Burrow in the game. Like Allen, you're running the ball with him. I mean, Mahomes can really scramble in that game too. And then Lamar, I mean, I almost understand Lamar being rated higher in the game than Allen just because you can run with Lamar in that game.
CJ Stroud's going to be up there.
Yeah, I mean, interesting enough, that might be who I consider.
Does he crack a 90? Does CJ Stroud in second year crack 90?
No, but I bet you they have him like an 80, an 88 or an 87. I bet you is what they have him at.
87 sounds about right.
Yeah.
Is the college game out yet?
3 weeks. I am so excited, dude. 3 weeks from Monday. It'll be out.
Goff should be rated around that mark. Maybe 89.
Dude, when Goff's on, he's on.
Stafford above Goff or below Goff?
From a talent perspective, Stafford's above, but that Lions team is just stacked, dude.
Bro, that
Lions team is good.
They're solid, bro. They are solid. 85 for CJ.
That Lions team they have one of the best rosters in the league.
Who does?
The Lions.
Do the Lions have a better roster than the 49ers? Some say the 49ers have the best.
I mean, they should have. They were wiping the floor with San Fran last year until they weren't. Man, that's tough. I would take the Lions roster just because it's going to be better for longer than the Niners roster is. So many young studs on that Lions team.
Sal says July 19th, baby. You on the Xbox or PS5, Z-Bot?
PS5, baby. I cannot wait. So it's July 19th. But if you pre-order it, you get the 3-day early access. Dude, I'm going to be grinding that game. I cannot wait.
Who are you rolling with?
Well, I'm going to be rolling with my Nittany Lions, but I think
you're not rolling with Colorado?
No. I think I'm going to rebuild UB though in a dynasty.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, that could be fun because it's fun to start with a real rough program and bring it up. Because in the game, it's tougher to get recruits, tougher to compete. So that'll be fun.
Dude, the last time I played college ball, I think I was running with I was messing with Nebraska. Then I went to Cincinnati. I like the uniforms of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Cincinnati Bearcats. I was running with that. God, it's gonna be fun, man. I gotta get my college game up. And
yeah, it's gonna be real fun. I'm excited.
Sure. All right, folks. That's it for us. If you enjoyed the show, obviously you guys know what to do. Smash that like. If you guys have not subscribed, you guys are new to the page, to the channel. Y'all know what to do. Do that for us. And Z-Bot, you got any last words for these fine folks that have been hanging with us for the last 2 hours?
Appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Have a terrific weekend. And catch you on the next one, baby.
Catch you on the next one. We'll see you guys next week. Listen, guys, it's a slow period. It's going to be one pod a week. So my man Z-Bot and I, we're going to be kicking it on Fridays. Friday seems to be the sweet spot. And you crank up your weekend with the boys, and then you can have a great one. And we'll see you guys next week. Now, if something pops off, you know what I mean, in the middle of the week, you know, we go emergency pod. We on it. So you guys enjoy yourself, and we're gonna get this outro popping, and we'll get ourselves out of here, man. You guys have a great weekend. I hope you guys had a great Father's Day weekend last weekend. That was great. And if you guys are cooking on the grill, I know you guys have a holiday coming up soon, don't you? What holiday's coming up? July 4th coming up.
July 4th is coming around the corner.
And ours is July 1st. We got Canada Day coming, so that's gonna be interesting.
Oh, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh my gosh, shut your mouth, Z-Bot. We got Canada Day that goes on July 1st, and then the second party happens July 4th. So I know you guys are really having fireworks like crazy. It's funny, you guys have fireworks that take place right in front of your driveways. I love that. We had that a couple years back. There's one guy, I don't know where he got his fireworks, man. He laid that thing down, and what you would see in a typical video, fireworks about to go down, and for some reason it tilted over. And it just fired all over the place. Kids running all over the place. Pure chaos. One girl got it right in the chest. Boom.
Reverse, Terry.
Oh my gosh. I was like, I can't believe this is happening. Everybody take cover. And this poor girl got hit in the chest with it, and she was fine. The guy that did the fireworks felt absolutely horrible.
How could you not?
Apologizing. He got on the community Facebook, was I'm so sorry. And the parents were like, how could you? It was horrible. I felt bad for the guy. He just wanted to do something for the kids. It turned sideways. It turned sideways. Poor guy. Jesus. Anyway, so enjoy yourself, guys, and we'll definitely catch up next week.
No doubt. Much love, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Hit the little outro here.
There it is.
Enjoy the Friday, folks. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you on the next one. Go Bills.
Go Bills, baby.